In this video, I'm going to take a look around Accsoon's new CoMo wireless comm system. First of all, Accsoon did send this product out to me to review, and although I try to remain impartial, you should definitely take this review with that particular pinch of salt. Accsoon sent me out the 5 headset package, which contains 1 host headset and 4 remote headsets. This all comes in a nice soft, hard case with carry handles and pads on the bottom. Opening it up, the main section is divided between the host headset and the remote headsets, and each one gets its own sleeve. As it ships, this section also contains some bags with replacement foam pads and replacement mic covers. At the top there are 3 pockets. 2 contain the 10 batteries that Accsoon send you with this set, and in the middle we've got the charger and product manual. Each battery case has a spare slot, so you could pick up 2 additional batteries if you wanted to, which could be useful in an emergency. Overall, I like that everything has its place and it is a simple but well thought out storage solution. The headsets themselves are relatively lightweight, coming in at 170 grams with the battery in. That's comparable to other systems, and I haven't found it to be too bad in extended use. It's way lighter than AirPod Max's. The headband has a generous deep pad, which to me feels like a good mix of soft with some structure to it. On the side with the earpiece, you'll find the built-in antenna, the mic, which is on an adjustable gooseneck and rotates so that you can use the headset on either ear. This area also houses all of the controls, which are the physical on-off switch, ENC, which toggles the electronic noise cancellation on and off, volume up and down, a pairing button, and a USB-C port underneath that. It's also worth noting that all of the headsets should arrive already paired as a set. But if you wanted to expand your system, it's possible to purchase individual headsets up to a total of 9, including the host, by using the pairing function. The host headset is also denoted with a small green dot at the base of the antenna, where the remote headsets have a silver dot. And at the end of the mic, there's a little LED which indicates the status of the headset. On the opposite side, the battery compartment can be accessed via a small latched cover, and on the head side is another cushioned pad which will rest on the side of your head. Earpiece pads and the mic cover are removable, and you get a set of foam alternatives to the leatherette finish, which comes fitted as standard. Having some kind of comm system on shoots becomes essential at a certain point, and over the years I've used various different solutions in different environments. I think the first comm system that I actually got to use was for a big live stream event where the camera team and I were plumbed into the stage comms. This was wired headsets, very nice, very clear, but not suitable for location shoots. The first shoot that actually used radios was on a glacier in Switzerland, where we needed a way of talking, communicating between different team members and talent to set up shots along a ski run. Since those initial forays into comm systems, I've worked with various radios or walkie-talkie systems. They tended to be at the cost-effective end of the spectrum to allow for expansion to accommodate larger crews. The downside was uncomfortable earpieces as standard, and if someone's keying a radio, it means that no one else can communicate on that channel. Now also, you had to hold down that button to key the radio to talk, which can be challenging if you're operating a camera or Hollywooding a bounce. And there was always someone, often an overzealous AD, that would keep asking a question again and again when a crew member was unable to answer. Frustrating to say the least for everyone on that channel. Personally, I found it quite hard to hear on those radios as well. Mics tended to be quite poor quality, the signal was often a little bit hit and miss, and the earpieces, as we said, were not exactly high fidelity. So while comms became an important part of almost all the shoots I was involved in, it was far from perfect. From here, I got to work with the EarTech comm system within the context of tracking vehicles, so range was rarely an issue, and these improved on a few things over standard radios, such as having an all-in-one mic headset transmitter, no need for cables, and they were full duplex, no need to push to talk. But it did require a hub unit which kind of just sat there and bonded up all of the other headsets wirelessly. So in other scenarios where maybe you wanted to roam around, someone would need to bring that hub unit with you. Finally, and most comparably, the Solidcom from Hollylands, which again offered full duplex and an all-in-one design. With the context for my opinions out of the way, let's get into how I found the CoMo actually in use. The first opportunity I had to test out the CoMo system was for the Recreate Fashion Show in London. It seemed like the perfect environment to give them a try, and as it was a minimal camera crew of just me and one camera operator, I also gave 3 headsets to the organiser, director of the show, and the DJ. For the first part of the shoot, we were just capturing the setup and general vibe before the catwalk started. The headsets wouldn't have been strictly necessary, but the camera operator and me were just casually using them to stay in touch as we got our work done. If you wanted to have a conversation with someone and not broadcast it, you can simply flip the mic straight up and it will mute your microphone. Just before everything kicked off, I gave out the rest of the headsets to the show team. This was interesting as they were not necessarily regular wireless comms users. Thankfully, some quick instructions, like bring the mic down if you want to talk, and showing them to have it positioned fairly close to the mouth, and that was all they needed. Normally it takes people a little bit of time to get used to having to key a radio and then also wait for their turn to talk, which in the past has led to frustrations when only sections of messages get through, or where someone keeps keying the radio when they finish speaking. But this was a breeze. After 15 seconds of that introduction, they were off, and honestly, the comms turned out to be indispensable for the running of the show. For me and the camera op, it was nice to have, but we've got a pretty good shorthand, and I think that the testing out for us was done, we were happy, but the show involved having certain music cued in to start as models came down the runway, making sure important guests from big fashion mags were seated in specific places, communicating when the models were ready, etc. So all of that it made me think. The focus of my experience in this review was around how this would be a useful product for filmmakers and photographers. This fashion show really showed me that actually there's a ton of different applications for comm systems like this, and I think it would be absolutely at home in an event setting as much as it would on a film set or a photo shoot. After the catwalk section, we took a selection of models and the show's organiser jumped in a minivan and headed out to Oxford Street to capture an impromptu street couture video, while my assistant remained behind to shoot vibe of people just mingling after the show. Everything worked really well for myself and the organiser to communicate while we grabbed this fast-moving impromptu street fashion section. But I had the host headset, so once I'd left the venue, the 3 remaining remote headsets could not communicate with each other. They were unbonded. I knew this would be the case, and it wasn't essential for those people to have comms at that point in the evening. Arriving back, the headsets immediately reconnected to the ones that had been left at the venue, and we didn't have to do anything to reset or rebond. During use, we didn't have any dropouts or interference, and one set of batteries lasted all the way from 3 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. with capacity to spare. Comfort-wise, I didn't actually think about it till I came to write the review, and yeah, I had no discomfort whatsoever. I didn't really notice, sometimes when you take a headset off, suddenly your ear kind of feels relieved but sore, especially for glasses wearers where it's pushing against the frame of the glasses, but these were fine, no issues whatsoever. Whilst the cam op and I were out on that fashion shoot, we were waiting for the next bit of set dressing to happen, and we took the opportunity to go outside and do a really, really unscientific range test in London, in that built-up area. The official specs on the range of this system are 1,312 feet or 400 metres, which on paper is about 200 feet more than other similar systems. Again, unscientifically, they performed well with crystal clear signal in line of sight at a distance of 1,050 feet. At which point we'd run out of line of sight for my cam op to walk down the street. So I went to the back of the venue, adding about another 50 feet and several walls, and we still got a clear signal. Once my assistant went down another side street behind some more buildings, we began to get some dropouts. Since this shoot, I've done a more empirical line of sight test out in the countryside with the assistance of my children. Leaving my son at the top of the hill and then driving down through some fields, once the line of sight was obscured by quite a lot of trees, the signal became less reliable. It's also possible that he was slightly over the brow of the hill, so there may have actually been some earth between us as well. I then dropped my daughter in a field down out of range of my son's headset, which, as the crow flies, was about 300 metres away from him. To convince her to come out to do the tests with me, I had to let her drive around the farm, so she's hurtling up this hill at the moment. You know, 12-year-olds, what are you going to do? Woohoo! With lots of tree cover between them, I drove back towards my son and I was able to pick up his signal. And most interestingly, I was able to communicate with my daughter as well, and he was able to communicate with her and she was able to communicate with him. So that host headset in between them acted like a bridge. When you're looking at the range, it's always from the host headset, and that can act as a conduit for people who are actually out of range of each other. Okay, final little bit of testing. I'm going to navigate through this tiny narrow gap, my 12-year-old driving, and then going to head all the way down. Once we're on the track, we're going to be able to look up and see whether we can see my son, and hopefully at that range we'll get line of sight. I could see the top of the hill and have line of sight to him, and I managed to get an immense 488 metres away from him, still getting clear signal and able to communicate back and forth. At that point though, I ran out of anywhere to go for more line of sight, so we had to leave the test just there. Now in these conditions there won't be as much wireless traffic, but still this is a full 88 metres beyond the official spec, and I think that we would have been able to get even further beyond that with more clear line of sight. Having a decent set of comms is something that will improve even fairly simple shoots, and I think that the no cables, hands-free, high-quality, full duplex systems are definitely the way to go. There are so many scenarios where they become indispensable, and until you use them, it isn't always obvious how much you will come to rely on them. Looking at things from a slightly different angle, the headsets do make you look like a cohesive professional unit when you're out on a shoot, and clients love the kind of techie cool, they even have wireless headsets sort of look. From a performance standpoint, the CoMo headsets were superb. Signal was always clear, they were easy to use, and they took no time to set up at all. Changing batteries is straightforward, though I never actually needed to. With the quoted battery life being 13 plus hours, I imagine it would be a rare shoot that you'd actually use a fully charged set. And if you did, Accsoon include a complete fresh set of spares in the box with this set. The charger accommodates 5 batteries at a time and is powered via USB-C. Something to note, there's no USB power supply included. I didn't actually even notice or think about that until, again, I came to write this review, and I just taken it out of the box and then plugged it into one of the many USB-C chargers that I have dotted around for charging everything that is USB-C these days. So I wasn't really worried about that, but it's worth bearing in mind. Of course, I was testing the 5 headset pack, but they do offer this in a variety of different packages, and you can also purchase the individual headsets to expand your system up to 9 in total. Something else to be aware of is that the host headset acts as a hub. I've mentioned this already, and it is required to use any of the other remote headsets. This is no different from comparable systems, but again, worth remembering. The quoted maximum distance is from the host headset to any remote headset, meaning that in theory you could have the host headset receiving signals from 2 remote headsets that are over 2,600 feet apart, and that was borne out in the range testing that I did as well. Finally, Samuel Gove, a DOP friend who I met in LA through Shane Hulbert, sent me a question on Instagram when he spotted that I was testing these out. He was asking whether, as you lean down to go into a peli case or otherwise, fiddle around like you do on set all the time, will the headset fall off your head? It's a legitimate concern that I hadn't considered, so I've tested it out, and I can definitely confirm that for me, it didn't immediately fall off. I had to shake my head quite vigorously to make it come off. Now, I could feel it shift forwards as I leant over, and I don't think that it will be an issue, but your mileage may vary, obviously depending on how sweaty you are, how big your head is, how much hair you've got. That could be a consideration, but it wasn't an issue for me. Are the Accsoon CoMo headsets worth it? Investing into a system like this can be hard for freelancers and small production companies to justify. It seems like an expense that could be put towards something that will more directly impact the quality of the image, such as a camera or a lens or a light. But from my experience, I can honestly say that the increased speed, efficiency and precision that comes with a reliable way of communicating with other team members on even small shoots is definitely worth it. Having been through the cheap options, again, I can wholeheartedly tell you, having something comfortable with clear audio will be far more pleasant for everyone involved. The 5 headset package that I was testing comes in at £1,209 in the UK, and that is including VAT. It's $1,299 in the US. Hard to make a direct comparison on this to other packages from other manufacturers, as they don't all offer the same number of headsets in a pack, but Accsoon does seem to be consistently lower in price overall compared to, for example, the Solidcom system. Having used both, I would say that they are very similar function-wise, and to be honest, I wouldn't give the edge to either one over the other. On paper, the CoMo has superior range, but I haven't done the range testing that I've done with the CoMo with the Solidcom, so I can't honestly say that it wouldn't perform in the same way. However, I would give the edge to the CoMo in terms of comfort, mostly due to its generous padding around the headband, I think. For a lot of smaller video productions and photography shoots, I think a 3-headset package is probably the sweet spot that you could add to over time but would give you enough to work with at the start. Clocks in at £745 including VAT in the UK. I'm definitely going to keep using these, and there's no doubt that you're going to see these on my future projects. So if you have any questions, leave them below and I'll try and answer them, and I'll try and test out anything that you're curious about as well. Thanks for watching.